Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
You're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. And listen, Emory Hunt has joined us, and all I'm going to say, Emory, it's your own fault. You had said you wanted to come in and talk UDFAs, and then the Jags ended up pulling in 18 or something UDFAs, and what we definitely had to have you back, man. But thank you for coming in, sir.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate y'all bringing me back on the show.
Absolutely. And some more thank yous are in order. We do have more channel members here on the Duval Dive. Shouts to Travis Champagne. With a name like that, we have to celebrate. Lucky Valentine in the building. And of course, Chad Schultz joined in the past, but we hadn't thrown him up on a listing yet. So now we've done that. Thank you all to the new members. And you're in for a treat as Emory Hunt works to make us a little bit smarter. But Travis, I'm sure you want to get some things off the ground to ask Emory about just the draft pick chaos in general before we get into the UDFAs.
I mean, that's the big one. I mean, I kind of just needed to get his grasp of how he felt about this Jacksonville Jaguars draft class with all the chaos that's kind of going on around it. Before we get into the UDFAs, I know it's a big that's the big ticket item that we're here to talk about. But yeah, man, how did you feel about the overall draft class? And be honest with me.
It's funny because as we are, we're in studio watching the draft, right? Or by this time we had a restaurant watching the draft because we do day side stuff in Florida, and then up in Connecticut they do the night side stuff. So we did all our talking during the day and setting up day two, and then we went out, we watched the draft at a restaurant, and as the Jags are picking, and we're like, all right, this is their first pick of the draft. And then it's like, okay. And then you see other picks. But by the time you look at the roster, after the second pick they made, you like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. They're drafting for depth. Because if you look at their starting 22, they got spots filled. So at the end of the day, I feel like this is why I told y'all last time I hated mock drafts, because I feel like folks get focused on the first round. And then they just think that's what an entire team is made up of, first round picks. And then so they just disregard everything else after that. And sometimes you don't have glaring holes for starters, and you got to draft depth. And you kind of want, when you're drafting for depth like they were, you kind of want to, now you have to really get specific on what your scheme is. Obviously in first round, you take best player available or top talent. And so outside of that, you're drafting specific depth players or guys that fit a specific role. Now, it doesn't mean you don't look for those guys that can start. Like Pregnon is one of those guys. Clearly should have went like a couple rounds, should have won the first round. But here you guys got him, and he's going to be a starter. So that's a great pick. And everything else, when you look at it and you look at it in the context of their roster, it's like, okay, you got guys that's going to be valuable rotational pieces, and that's what you need for a long 17-game season. So in terms of like, I know you guys been hot for a week and a half with consensus board talk. Like that's up there with the Diana Rossini and Vrabel stuff. Like y'all going toe to toe with that subject line. Like we'll see how. I think it's kind of died out now. But I felt like it was just people focus on the individual and not the collective of the roster building part until they calm down and look at it. They zoom out a bit and be like, oh, I see what they did. This is what they did this for X, Y, Z. It's no different, to be honest, than what the Rams did in round one in getting a quarterback. Obviously, that's not going to help them this year, but they won't be able to pick a guy in the first round with how good they're playing every year under McVay. So might as well get someone that you deem good enough right now while you can. And I think that's perspective I had when after the second pick of the Jaguars draft, I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. That makes sense.
If it's any help, Emory, there was a great tip given to us last week by JP Acosta, who said that he just straight up blocked the phrase consensus board from his social media. I know it's advice I took. So in case that's something, if JP's advice helps you, I just wanted to pass it on to you as well.
I love JP, man. That's my guy. We did a show today talking about on Pushing the Pod. We did it on CBS Sports Network, grading everybody off season. So I thought that was dope.
I love that. As an O lineman, I love that title anyway too, with Pushing the Pile. But go ahead, Travis. What else you have there, man? I know I had to get that in there about that PSA.
No. And yeah, to Emory's point, that's also a similar point that John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, shout out to him, put out in his recent article. I believe it was late last week, just talking about the fact that something that we also mentioned the week before the draft. Hey, they don't have a lot of glaring holes unless you're saying they're going to pick a three-tech, defensive tackle that's going to rotate, specifically with Eric Armstead, maybe take a few snaps off him. For the most part, that and linebacker, those are the only spots that might be available depending on if they love the guy. For the most part, you're looking at a lot of depth guys who may be able to develop into something into the future. And I told Kyle before, I told him that, I don't know if it was before day one or if it was after day one or after day two. But after one of the days of the draft, I'm like, dude, this might be one of the most universally hated Jaguars draft immediately after. Like, not looking at the results. I'm not talking about like a year later where we can say, oh, yeah, this was a bad draft class. I'm talking about like just the reaction of the fan base, reaction of the national media, all of that. Like, these guys are coming off 13 wins. All the extra eyes on Duval, all the extra takes, unfortunately, that comes with those extra eyes. And I'm just like, dude, I don't think fans had this bad of a reaction after the Luke Jokel, or the Derek Harvey draft classes that, after those final nights of the picks. And I think a lot of it, to your earlier point, was that consensus, that consensus board conversation is just kind of put some noise in the atmosphere with this, with the whole media conversation, I think.
And here's what's crazy about it, because if you're going to grade the draft picks of the Jags, at least have scouting reports on all of the draft picks. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you come up with a grade if you only graded 3 of the 6 picks? You know what I'm saying? Like how do you don't even know if the dudes that they picked in the latter part of the draft good or not, because you don't have reports on them. But I do. You know what I'm saying?
At the very least, get Emory's football guide, right? What's the proper name of it again, so I get it right?
Football Gameplan 2026 Draft Guide, which they can find at footballgameplan.com/2026 Draft Guide. It's the largest out there, over 1,200 individual scouting reports. So, yes, I've seen all the players the Jags picked. So that was my whole thing. Like, how can you be mad at something you ain't never seen? Outside of, you may have 4 to 6 picks graded, or 3 to 6, like that's incomplete. What are you mad at? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're trying to help spread that gospel, and another way we've done that here on the Duval Dive, we got a new member during the show here just now, gentlemen. Jordan Roberts has made himself a member of the Duval Dive YouTube channel. So thank you, and welcome. Just had to shout that out real quick. We're working to spread the gospel, and hey, make sure you check out the Football Plan Draft Guide, Football Game Plan Draft Guide. Excuse me, Emory. Sorry about that. It's right there on your shirt. How am I missing that? Anyways,
no, but I think I will replay that conversation that we had with JP when I told Acosta, I told him, I'm like, I thought in terms of fan reaction, this draft class is probably, fingers crossed, if it actually works out, going to be very eerily similar to that 2023 draft class. And again, I don't know that these guys are going to be good in that way, because again, these guys ended up being, they drafted, you got the Anton Harrison pick, you got the Brenton Strange pick, you had Tank Bigsby, who for some time looked like he was going to be something as far as that class is concerned. Obviously Antonio Johnson, Parker Washington, like that made that class a good class. But if you were to ask anyone in the Duval about anybody in the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, a lot of people hated that draft class at the time. They felt like the Jaguars sat on their hands. They thought that they were just like coming off of a good season. They just thought that they just didn't do enough. They drafted a backup tight end in Brenton Strange. That sounds very eerily similar right now. They drafted a safety in Antonio Johnson when they didn't have a dire need for one. Again, sounds very similar with Jalen Husky in this draft class. They drafted a wide receiver in Parker Washington. Again, it's a lot of the similarities as far as the classes are concerned. I'm just like, no, we'll see what happens.
And I will say this too, man. Like, and I'm just sitting on a receipt as big as CVS right now. So, but I remember getting like This was the 2020 when the draft was in Kansas City, 2024 or 3, one of those. I think it may have been 20. What were we? 26, 25, 20. Let's say 23. And so I'm on a show. The Chiefs took a pick. They had picked 32nd that year, right? And so those fans was out there all day. And then they took a guy that went to Kansas State. And so the next day, and this was Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12, and so I'm on a draft show, and I'm just saying, he was like my 39th ranked DN. And so obviously I grade so many players. So you're gonna fall in line. There's clusters too, but you're gonna fall in line with, like, it's not like 39 is that much different than 28 or 25, right? But the point is, I had, like, if you wanted to use where he was ranked in terms of what that grade was, probably like around a 5th round, 6th round pick talent. And boy, when I say I got lit up, like how we talk about the word consensus and this Rossini and Vrabel thing, and everybody he needs to change his process. He always saying stuff for clicks. He also said this. He also said that. This. Boy. This dude, this week they decided not to pick up his 5th-year option. And they drafted 2 more DNs and brought in another DN. He might not make the roster. And he hadn't really done much since they drafted him. So now it's funny to see the pivot from these same people. I didn't forget. I just hadn't said nothing about it. I'm gonna just wait till that ticker, like, so Chiefs release. So boy.
See,
So
I think
sometimes evaluators, sometimes as an if you've graded everybody, you graded things, you just got to sit back and let it play out, because you could have been wrong or you could have been right. But the immediate reaction, wasn't warranted. Like how people viscerally react to the Jags. Sometimes just sit back and let it play out. And a more recent receipt too was in the Jahmyr Gibbs year. Here's the thing. I had Jahmyr Gibbs as my RB1. I had B.J. Robinson as RB2. You would have sworn I said, something about God or something like this, right? People was like, here he goes again, hot taker, this. By the preseason. No, I would say by week 1, because they played the Lions. By week 1, people was like, man, it gives like, whoa, this is Jahmyr.
He looked like that. Yeah, he like that. Exactly. But that's the thing. I think as a society, I think we'd all be better off if we can. And we said this last season. I want to be clear, because my mama taught me this when I was young. If your disrespect is loud in public, your apology and your reconciliation needs to be loud and double as public. And we had that theory with Devon Lloyd last year. I want to be very clear. Like, I told people I had questions on him. He answered a lot of those questions.
My Devon Lloyd take. Are you kidding me?
Nah, it is what it is. So I if you're loud and disrespect, don't forget what you said last year. We remember. The Pepperidge Farm remembers. So so we real about that.
with Pepperidge, man, you bring up Jahmyr Gibbs, and on the show regularly, Emory, my role is clear during draft season. I am not a good scout. Even I know that Gibbs was going to be something. I never understood that particular pick.
The big pushback was, he's 199 pounds. I was like, wow.
I could give him a cheeseburger real quick. We can fix that.
Warwick Dunn got over 10,000 yards and was 178. You know what I'm saying? But again, I let those people talk. I said this last night or 2 nights ago when I was on HQ talking about the Browns QB situation. I was like, well, people want to listen to who they listen to because they want to believe what they want to believe. So, damn my experience, damn all my background of all that. Like, listen to who you want to listen to, because you want affirmation, not confirmation. So I can't change your mind if you already want to believe something. So I just sit back, watch you squirm, and watch you sit there quiet when you realize I was right the whole time.
So and we've talked. We've already hinted at and talked around the consensus board chaos. The conversation around that, we talked about it on Big Cat Country. We've talked about it on I don't even know how many podcasts at this current moment in time. But about at the end of the day, that the consensus of the media agree that the consensus has been breached by the Jacksonville Jaguars on every pick but 2, basically, in this NFL draft. But I thought it was a real interesting point in the draft that I don't think many people have talked about, and if they have, I've simply missed it. Like the Jaguars draft Emmanuel Pregnon at pick 88, and then they draft Jalen Husky at pick 100. But between those 2 picks, I thought things got a little interesting because everybody's losing their minds talking about Jacksonville, specifically Jacksonville, but all those other teams made some interesting. No, F that. I ain't gonna call it interesting. They made some wild picks in that range that haven't really seemed to come up when other people in the media are talking about this Jacksonville Jaguars draft. And I'm like, wait, the Jaguars didn't have a pick until 56. That was their first pick. And that's also around that same range where this draft class started getting wild. Like this draft process started getting a little funky. And when, we heard the rumors, you even said it on the pod before the draft when we were talking about it. It was like, no, they said positional value might be a little bit out of the window this year. Things might get a little bit wonky, basically. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what things got wonky. They looked a little wonky. If you believe the consensus boards, like the Xavier Thomas went at pick 89. The industry-wide consensus board had that dude at 256. I ain't heard nobody in these streets talking about that from the Chicago Bears point of view. Kalon Black, like the San Francisco 49ers, they've gotten all the smoke because they drafted him at pick 90 when they had him at the consensus boards, had him at 200. There's a list of these guys. Keegan Tross is my guy. I was banging a drum for him for weeks. And the Rams picked him at 163. But again, I'm sorry, he picked him at 93 when he was 163. So there's, again, multiple of these guys if you're going in that third round. And I'm just like, why is Jacksonville the only one getting all the smoke when it seems very obvious that the NFL as a group, the NFL as an organization, in the verse of Cash Money Records, as a 9-9 for the organization, they didn't agree with the consensus boards across the board. So I don't understand why it's only Jacksonville getting all the smoke from the NFL, I guess, national media. I don't know where this is coming from.
My thing is, and this is the crux of the point. Like when I grade people, right, or evaluate and grade, right? So I tell people all the time, I am not a mock drafter. I am not a draft reporter. I am a draft analyst, which means I evaluate talent and put out scouting reports. So if I have my number 1 free safety, Ardarius Washington, go undrafted, I'm not, hooting and hollering about the NFL missed on this. I'm waiting until Ardarius Washington plays on the field to see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. He goes undrafted, signs with the Ravens, starts as an undrafted rookie. I'm validated. So when people get upset, I'm like, are you upset at Borkature, the evaluation, or are you upset that you mock draft wrong? So, because that's 2 different things. Like if you had a good grade on Borkature or whatever grade you had on them, you don't care where they go. You just want to see if they play up to what you said they were going to play up to. And
is he a hit or a miss?
Bingo. And so when people get upset about consensus board and all that, that tells me you're more along the lines of trying to get the slot right and not the evaluation right. So we playing 2 different games.
Yeah, no, I think you elaborated a little bit more on that point because you mentioned something about it last week when we brought up Dexter Lawrence, which is, over and done with from the Jags perspective here. But I think this is a good place to bring in this comment from Storm the Desert. Rumor has it that most teams thought Borkature as a Y/tight end 1, Jimmy Stones, James Gladstone, might have been right to think he wouldn't have been there at 81. That's interesting because at the very least, to the point made that the Jags were bucking the trend, apparently other NFL talents, if you buy that, were doing the same thing. And I don't know, there's so many different elements to it too, Emory, like things and changes in the league that have been noticed, people trying to seem to be interested in running more 12 personnel, the makeup of this class with the impact of both the pandemic players clearing their full careers and NIL starting. We're starting to get to this class where all that has its impact. More people staying back, older players that were also encouraged to stay back as well for NIL, that coming into the fold as well. There were so many different things that certainly me, who is not a good draft analyst, wouldn't have thought of until I was shown these possibilities, right?
What was fascinating too about the Jahmyr Gibbs thing. So because I looked at it today because somebody had brought it back up to me in my attention. This was April 20th, right? So I'm getting flamed all April 20th. April 21st, ESPN, I think it was Adam Schefter, tweets out, Mel Kiper says that speaking to NFL teams, multiple teams have Jahmyr Gibbs graded higher than Bijan Robinson. And I'm like, damn. So now I'm like, damn, I'm getting smoked on. I was getting smoked yesterday. Now today it comes out that some teams saw it how I saw it. And I'm like, yo, that part, just because again, those people that probably are the same people that were upset about the consensus or upset because here's another monkey thrown into the wheel is like, damn, my mock draft is gonna be wrong because I had Bijan going here all the time. Now I gotta worry about. So again, that's why I always say, like, are you a mock drafter? Are you a talent evaluator? Because if so, then we can have a conversation. But I can't argue with you about players that you haven't even seen or scouted like that. So that's where that's why I sat back and like, dang, they really mad about this. But I forgot I'm using the lightning rod that get stones thrown at them for takes I have, and I just sit and wait and let's see if they right or if they're wrong.
You could either worry about having stones throw at you, or you could be Jimmy Stones doing things against the grain. I think those are the options.
Now, when he if he right in this situation, they're gonna all want to interview. They all want him on their podcast. They're gonna all want him. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll call him a super genius. But they're gonna delete them tweets and they're gonna delete them videos. I tell you that.
Yeah. So, boy. There's a lot to get into about this draft, but I'm trying my best to let it go. I'm trying my best to get off that narcotic, but it ain't easy. Because
there'll be other episodes of the Duval Dive, Travis.
Sorry we went down this rabbit hole, man. I'm sorry, but that we had to get all that off our chest. You know what I'm saying? That was a lot.
They keep calling me. It's pulling me back in. But no, man. So
obviously, when I was out, they keep pulling me back. Did you just make a Godfather 3 reference? Goodness gracious, champion.
I mean, so yeah, the Jaguars, they drafted. They drafted the 11 picks. Well, yeah, the 11. They have the 11 picks entering the draft. I believe they used 10 selections. My bad. And then they had the 18 undrafted free agents. Now, I don't know if we're going to get into all 18 of those guys, but let's just start with some of the favorites of the bunch. And I say the favorites. I'm referencing my favorites, just to be clear. In kind of starting this conversation. So for folks who maybe haven't been paying as much attention, over the past 2 seasons, the Jacksonville Jaguars have signed the 4th most undrafted free agents of all NFL teams. Kansas City Chiefs lead the league with 43. Minnesota Vikings are right behind those guys. Again, Kevin O'Connell. You're still following that, Rams look. You got the Chargers 3rd, and you got the Jaguars 4th at 40, tied with the Baltimore Ravens and Las Vegas. And at the bottom of the league, you got the Houston Texans, who only signed 9 over the past 2 seasons. Washington, Arizona, Cincinnati, and San Francisco. I thought it was just an interesting list so folks could be aware of. Some teams don't care about that because they think that they're mature enough as far as their roster construction is concerned. Other ones, maybe they just have different philosophies as far as that goes. Like, again, San Francisco, they get injured a lot. I thought they'd have more, but they didn't. But yeah, so the Jaguars have 18. They signed the 3rd most last season with 22, and they signed the 6th most undrafted free agents this year, so far at least, with 18. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, man. Look at the depth chart. Jacksonville Jaguars fans, I need y'all to stop crashing out just for a second. Look at the Jaguars' current depth chart. And then remember the 22 undrafted free agents we had last year. Branson Combs, he's Foye Oluwakon's backup. BJ Green, Danny Strigo, they back up both edges. Chandler LeBray boy, Jaquin Jackson, Jamar, what's his name? Jabbar Muhammad, and Patrick Herbert. They were all on the practice squad last year. So, like, overall, this organization, obviously, they're bringing in a lot of guys, but they seem to believe in them, and they're going to give them a real opportunity to compete. So, we got you here. I needed your thoughts. Let's start with Jamari Taylor. Jamari Taylor, running back from Virginia. What are your thoughts on him? What did you see, from him as far as the draft cycle, or did you think he was going to be a UDFA? Let's start there.
Yeah, let's start there. But I kind of want to switch up because of the
sure. However you want to talk about him.
Okay, I'll start with Jamari Taylor because you brought him up first. He was a dog at North Carolina Central, number one. I thought he was going to get drafted, but I like that he went to Virginia. And normally when we see guys, he got poached during the Celebration Bowl. We saw Coach talk about, like, man, they were talking to my guy while he was while we were preparing for Jackson State. And normally when these guys transfer up, they become just, part of the gray mass. But he goes to Virginia and starts and becomes electric. I thought he would have got the whatchamacallit. I thought he would have got drafted. Because for me, I'm gonna tell you right now where I had Jamari Taylor. Because I love the fact that he went out there and put it all on the line for Virginia. He was my 20th running back. Okay. With a 74.5 grade. So that's still a solid NFL player, like contributor, right? One thing that helps him out, I'm reading the first line of my report, very effective jump cut that helps him out pre-line of scrimmage versus quick penetration. So he's an agile guy, and he's able to make you miss. And I like at Virginia, we got a chance to see his receiving skills as a downfield player, as opposed to your meets expectations stuff that backs do, like swing, screens, flares, and flats. We all can do that. Can you get down the field and be a threat? And that opens up the passing game. So I like that. And to be honest, last year I was a big fan of Jaquin Jackson. I know he ran slow, but I just felt like he ran how back's supposed to run. He had a good feel for the running game. So Jamari Taylor's a good back. But I want to break it down by positions because there's a cluster. Here's why what the Jags did was kind of impressive. So they drafted 2 receivers in the 6th round. But they bring in 5 undrafted rookie wide receivers. So they're telling you, the line is about this much between these dudes they drafted and these undrafted guys that they brought in. So there's an opportunity for them to catch one of those guys. And so, I love this group. And we'll start with Trevor Pena, who was my 19th Z with a 75 grade. And the fact that he has solid all-around game, I think he's someone that does the dirty work rather well. He plays inside, he can play outside. He's not the most explosive, but he's dependable. He can catch the ball, he can block. So he'll be one of those guys that could legit be a core special teamer. The one I want people to watch out for is Ben Patterson of Texas Permian Basin. Division II program, 6'4", 230, 223. The boy can fly. For a big body wide receiver. He was my 9th inside receiver with a 75 grade. So I think he has above average run after catch skills. So you can give him a short pass, a stop route, he can turn upfield and get going. And I think for a guy with that size to speed ratio, it'll jump out at you and could give you something that you don't have. And I know you asked about Wortham. First of all, shout out to Montana because they always have a guy that can help you in a return game because this is what they do. First line of the report: excellent kickoff and punt return specialist, able to flip the field position with each opportunity. So that in and of itself will catch the eyes of the coaching staff. And okay, he could help us here. He may be already grandfathered into one of these spots, right? In terms of like we expect him to make the team, and that's where boom. We'll keep him stashed. That'll be one of our guys. Now, he works well through zone coverage. I like how he's able to find the dead spots and settle down or work through rotating zone coverage where he could get open on the other side of the field. So he has good skills. And again, he's coming from a very good program. And then Alex Bullock was the other one, right? Okay. And what was interesting about him from South Dakota State, he was at the FCS Showcase, and he was one of the top receivers in the FCS. So the FCS showcase was right before the Hula Bowl, and that was an FCS only kind of combine right before the FCS championship game. Very good wideout. He was my number 32 flanker, right? Or Z receiver. So 73.5 grade. So he's able to track the ball really well. He does a good job deep downfield and is able to get his body in position to make the catch. So he's not going to create the separation, but he knows how to run routes to get open. He can stack, track, and he's going to make plays above the rim. And Brad Boyd was someone that Brady Boyd, I watched at the Dream Bowl out of Utah State. I thought he was someone that I thought he had the best week of work down there as a receiver because I kept, you know how it is when you get to these all-star games and you're sitting up above, you got your roster with you, but you're also helmet watching because you know logos. I was like, man, the Utah State dude killing them. So I'm looking at who's Utah State, and it's him. And so he was my number 20 slot receiver with a 74 grade. So as you can see, I just gave you the grades. Those, so you see that cluster that's right there, right? Right there. So and for him, first line has proven capable of winning across the formation. So he can play anywhere across the formation. He does his best work inside as a slot receiver, and when given a space to operate, he's consistently able to find open grass. So he's one of these guys that we'll hear people say, oh, he's a quarterback's best friend because he always gets open, makes himself available. So he could be one of these fan favorites. I don't like that he's wearing 49, and I don't like that Alex Bullock is wearing 45. That's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that cluster of guys can really play. So, and they got a chance.
But you know who else that sound like?
Who?
Jacoby Myers. When they say he's a quarterback's best friend, he ain't got to be the fastest guy, but he just gets open and knows where to throttle it down, and all those different quarterback-isms that you'll name. That's exactly what that is. They don't care about the athleticism. They just want guys who are going to catch the ball, not drop it. Maybe you have great contested catches, probably be 6'1", 200, 205. We said it after the draft. Kyle, did we not? Like, they're obviously looking for something because all these guys feel exactly the same or very similar. And I'm happy you talked about Michael Warren from Montana because he was a Shrine Bowl standout.
Yep.
Like you said, he was in a box. They couldn't guard him that week. Like that's kind of, he had over 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns. For most people who don't know about these guys, I know they're undrafted free agents. Jaguars brought in a lot of them. But yeah, he was the first team FCS All-American team on special teams as a returner. So he has a tall hill to climb, but that's a heck of a reason to have him on the roster in and of itself, right?
Absolutely. And because that's an element of the game that a lot of teams lack. But when we look, if we zoom out and look into the postseason, teams that can run the ball and teams that excel at special teams are usually the ones that end up at the end holding the flag, right? And so that's why teams that invest in special teams is legitimately a third of the game. You want to have a great kicker, a great punter, and a dude that strikes fear in the heart of you as a returner. And so if you can do that, you're winning. Because all you got to win is 2/3 of the football game, whether it's offense and defense or offense, special teams, or special teams and defense. As long as you win 2 of the 3 battles, you're going to win. So that's why that's important. And as I lay it out, like you see, and I want people to understand this, Montana, South Dakota State, you're talking about those conferences, the Missouri Valley and also the Big Sky and the CAA, we threw that in there. There's in the Southland Conference with Tarleton State and McNeese and formerly Sam Houston. Those conferences are no different than the G6. You know what I'm saying? They're right there. And so, because a lot of times they were in FBS, but they, once they split in 79, some moved up, some stayed, you know what I'm saying? So that's high level college football. And so you're going to get high level prospects. Looking at the offensive line, they drafted Pregnon in the 3rd round, right? But Garrett DiGiorgio was my number 18th guard, 75 grade. First line of his scouting report I have, does a solid job with his hands, able to quickly make contact with the defender and then subsequently reset them while engaged. That's critical because one, you're winning the hands first battle, which is paramount at O-line, D-line. Can I get my hands on you first and I'm in control? And then once I do that, can I reset? Because you may get hands on a guy and you know this, you may get a hand on a guy and you kind of off balance. Can I reset and get in better position? And so that's something he does really well. And another one of these guys that was at the Shrine game, you talk about 6'6", 321. So big body guy, but you see how that's someone that could compete for a depth spot in that position. So
I talked about him on Monday's podcast because he played tackle, guard, and center that week at the Shrine game. So that's this organization. They prioritize versatility. So that's
utility guys and dudes that are getting bigger. Like Emory, if I may be so bold, we talk about looking for a type. This is a point Travis was making when Liam Cohen was first instilling the offense and trying to look like they had more maulers at every spot except center, which I know we all want dudes that, are Paul Bunyan and are in the storybook size and speed, huge McRun fast and others, right? But at day's end, if you have maulers all over the line and the center is what you're using to get to the second level and all that other stuff to make second level blocks and stuff like that, you're still doing good. And DiGiorgio is just another in that particular piece that fits that theory. One other thing I want to ask you about, Emory, is the grades that you're giving it 74 to 75. These are NFL impact players that aren't necessarily immediate starters, but they could get in and make an impact in the league, correct?
They can get in and look the part and play the part. They may not be, how I have it, 80s and above are Pro Bowl level players, like standout starters.
Okay.
But these guys are going to be like rotational players. You know what I'm saying? Guys that can come in, maybe spot start, I like to call it. A 2 or 3 game stretch. If somebody's injured, they'll keep the ship afloat. You know what I'm saying? But if you have a guy that's, let's say, a 75, that's a starter for you, he could hold his own, but you're probably going to always look to try to improve that spot, is what that kind of usually means, right? And so
dudes like that in the 7th round and as UDFAs, I mean, I thought this was a shallow draft. I thought this was a weak class, Emory. How are all these potential contributors?
When you only grade 100 players, like, of course you're gonna think that. You know what I'm saying? Let me stop shooting shots, right? Because people get mad.
So it wasn't incredible at the top, but it absolutely has some talent to be found if you're willing to do the work.
You got quality all throughout because just the sheer nature of how many teams, colleges, there's over 800 football playing colleges. So if you do the math, like, of course you're going to find 1,000 good football players every year. And so some greater than others, but still 1,000 good football players. Jordan White, they got a center from Vanderbilt. He was at the Hula Bowl. I have my 14th rated center, 75 grade. First line, supremely quick off the ball and quick in his movements as well. Can get to wherever block you need him to get to, expanding your offensive play calling. And the reason why I say that is because anytime you got a center that can move, your playbook is expanded because now we can get creative. We can pull them. You could wham. We could trap. We can get them outside on rolling pockets and set up the launch pad for Trevor Lawrence on that side as opposed to right back. So when you're able to get an agile center, man, that's worth his weight in gold. Now he's 6'2", 300, so he runs counter to what we just talked about with DiGiorgio. You know what I'm saying? Someone that's bigger that can play all the parts of the offensive line, but Jordan White should get in there and compete. And Jimto,
he sounds like Robert Hainsey, honestly. Like, just to be clear, like, he actually does sound very much like Robert Hainsey. I mean, he's 6'4", 306, 305 pounds, like, and then very agile in that same way. So that sounds like that's just the brand, or that's just the type that they're aiming for at that point.
Right, because it's you kind of want to be quick off the ball, like, unless you got a big guy that can move. That's what made a Travis Frederick so unique. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a 6'5", 6'6" center, 6'7" center, I believe, but was super quick off the ball. That's why you tend to see centers be shorter. They're usually a little bit more agile. At the Hula Bowl too was Jimto Obidegwu out of North Texas. I loved his tape. I thought he stood out at the Hula Bowl too. He's 6'4", 338. So he was a tackle.
338.
So you could kind of see him maybe transitioning inside to guard for Jacksonville. But again, first line, one of the more consistent linemen in terms of pass protection in the draft class. Does an outstanding job from start to finish in that regard. Rarely gives up a pressure. Now, I had him as my 11th rated tackle with a 79 grade. So I had a really good grade on him. Like, he was impressive. That entire North Texas team had a lot of dudes in this draft guide as I'm watching. Now, some of these dudes like 28 years old. Like, they got to chill out with that. but a lot of these dudes could play, and that's why they were on the cusp of getting to the CFP if they would have beat Tulane, right? So I noticed that, and I was like, yo, this dude he got great feet, all of that. So him going undrafted, I thought he was more of a day 3 pick, but here he is in Jacksonville. So I mean, Jacksonville is cooking right now with these undrafted free agents. In my eyes, Joey Aguilar, I think he can catch Carter Bradley. If Joey Aguilar can revert back to what he did at App State the second to last year, he was looking like a perennial, like a guy that could have been a potential, early day 2 selection. So then he bounced back this year at Tennessee, played really well, kind of got himself in that conversation. Then he had the weird, into it where it's like, hey, I can just go north, and I want to come back. Oh, he was doing the Trinidad Chambers thing, right? And then he ends up like getting a late start, but he could play. And I give you one more offense before we move to defense. I'm on a roll now. This my lane. Connor, Troy, Sun Best Conference. I saw him at the College Gridiron Showcase, 6'3", 231. He was my number 23 H-back with a 73 grade. First line, well put together prospect who definitely passes the off the bus test. Also checks the box for functional strength, as he does a really good job at sustaining blocks while he's engaged. So so his route running needs polish. But if the first thing I noticed about him is how he blocks, you go watch how he was doing great work versus Clemson. You're gonna see someone, okay, but man, if he makes a team, this is someone that could be an extension of the run game with how well he blocks.
Oh,
so that's the offense side of the ball.
Oof, you went into your bag. I appreciate you, because again, I have my favorite guys. Again, when I told everybody, anybody who would listen, I watch a lot of tape. I don't watch a lot of UDFA tape. I ain't got enough time, bro. I'm tired, boss. So unfortunately, yes. I'm gonna listen when the ball knowers tell me, hey man, I watched these guys, I watched that guy, and if you would know about the UDFAs, as you absolutely do, you are going deep into that bag. I'm here to listen. But no, I've only watched tape on a few of these guys, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm a former cornerback. That's my bias. That's my lane. I stay in my lane. So I'm very excited to hear what you got to say about this defensive line crop, this cornerback group. Yeah, how are you feeling about who I think might have one of the strongest options or strongest possibilities of making this Jacksonville Jaguars roster, Devon Marshall, NC State?
Well, let's start there. Let's start. I don't want to say back to front, because that's a reference of, that could go any direction. But let's start in the secondary. And so yeah, Devon Marshall, he was my number 20 slot corner. Saw him at the Hula Bowl, did a really good job there. Got the call up to the Shrine Bowl. Excellent ball awareness, and it shows up in how he doesn't panic when the ball is coming his way. He's able to quickly find the ball and make a play on it. Right there is where I would draft you, just off of GP, because my pet peeve is when corners like act as if they've never seen a pass before in their life. Struggle to find the ball, either don't turn their head around or just act as if they don't know what's coming at them, like it's a missile coming at them. But when you have a corner that doesn't panic and understands where he is on the field and all that stuff like that, I love him. You know what I'm saying? And strong at the catch point, able to fight and play above his weight class in that regard, consistently is able to contest the pass. And when he's able to play off, read and react, drive the football, he's at his best. So that's where I feel like Marshall has a chance to make this team, because he is a very good corner. Problem is he's game number 40. So he's going to have to overcome that and first, and then, get him a better jersey number. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was a big fan of Jabbar last year too.
So I don't normally give much pushback on anything, but when we're in my lane and talking about the DBs, I got to.
You don't give pushback. Stop that.
Hey, I'll get pushback when I watch the tape of the guys. Again, I don't watch a lot of offensive line tape. I ain't got nothing to say about that. I'm like, that sounds good. Yes, he's big. 330. I like that. But no, overall, so when we're talking about the DBs, all right, cool. To your point, he's great at the catch point. led the NCAA with PBUs at 16 last year, and I'm like, all right, cool. And he is often you check out his highlight film, you check out any of his games, he often has his hand on the ball. He's knocking a lot of balls down. My only pushback on it was like, you saw him beat a lot where he's catching up, getting back in the phase, getting his hand in there, getting the ball out. So you love the competition, you love that part of the equation, but also you have to then take into consideration that he is behind, he is trailing. How often in the NFL are you going to then have those opportunities to truly catch up with guys when you do get beat? Because that's kind of the give and the take of the conversation. And I don't know where to land on that, but I think it's still absolutely worth him having a roster spot to see what you have there on the coaching side of things and everything else. But I'm just kind of like give and take, but he's really strong also in tackling. And that's huge in his Anthony Campanelli defense. Like he had 50 tackles and a 6% missed tackle rate. So they're big on that, even for their safeties and for their corners. So I thought that was dope from him.
Here's the areas of improvement. Inconsistent when playing press coverage, accuracy on his punches off and gets behind the route pretty quickly. Has to be able to find consistency there at the line of scrimmage. Second note, recovery speed is questionable. What he has a way of saving himself deeper down the field is in his ability to play the ball. But if the quarterback is accurate, it could be a chunk play. So we saw the same thing.
So we're in agreement, yeah.
Yep. Preston Hodge, the other corner. Pull him up right quick.
Right, he's another slot guy. Well,
slot guy. Yes.
Marshall can play outside. He looks more comfortable between the two of those guys, from my opinion, at least. Again, not a draft guy. I just watched a lot of tape.
But his weaknesses lead him to be better inside because he's close to the ball. And he's a tackler. So, and he's less likely to get exposed deep down the field when he's playing in the slot. Lets him, you can go, you know what I'm saying? Preston Hodge was my 13 slot corner. So I had a higher grade on him than I did on Marshall. 75.5 grade. Another Hula Bowl guy. Line, terrific in man coverage, has the quick twitch ability and footwork to mirror and match with receivers. Also shows he's able to leverage the ball when having to either come from depth or across a formation. So he's a click and close corner. He has a quickness. He's much more twitchier than Marshall. But his areas of improvement, he tends to be an ankle biter as a tackler, will miss opportunities to bring down the ball carrier because his aim is too low and not being able to get a good grasp. And I would also like to see him develop more discipline in zone coverage. Getting proper depth and width at times can be inconsistent.
Wait a minute. I resent this. Wait a minute. Dang it. We ain't doing this. We are not doing this. We are not shaming people for being ankle tacklers, man. By any means necessary.
There's nothing wrong with ankle tackling if you make the tackle. But anytime you miss it, it look worse. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I get it. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That hit me a little too close to home, brother. I was 185. I was absolutely an ankle tackler. I ain't gonna pretend on. But I am not going to fake out here in these streets.
So, I mean, I got to be honest with y'all because, I don't have anything on Devon Neal. I don't have anything on TJ Bollers, Jalen Hunt, or Quindarius Dunnigan. But I do have something on Bryan Thomas, the end.
The edge out of South Carolina.
Yep. It was my 37th edge guy. He was a Shrine Bowl guy. Brings good twitch off the ball, shows the ability to dip under the grasp of the offensive tackle because he's 6'1". And he can run the hoop, flatten, and accelerate to the quarterback. So he's one of these high energy, high hustle players, which screams special teams because he's 6'1", 245. So you could kind of see him as a Sam backer, or you just see him as a straight up edge. But that to me screams like he's going to be a core special teamer, getting guys on coverage units. And I think that's an area where he can kind of make the team and carve out a long career in that regard.
Right. Because it's going to be definitely hard for him to make this roster as if you're talking about him being an edge or something like that, just because of how deep it is. And
crowded.
It's a stacked room. You got BJ Green, Danny Strigo, Wesley Williams, Zach Durfee. Right. Yeah. But they got so many options. And then you get into again, Jalen McLeod from last year, as you were talking to the Sam linebacker room. But yeah, to your point, I mean, Bryan Thomas Jr., the edge Bryan Thomas Jr., the new BTJ, we're gonna call him. We got to figure out what nickname gonna be. In his first year as an unquestioned starter, he had 41 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, 7 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 38 quarterback pressures. Obviously, that needs to be talked about, undrafted free agent or not. Like whether or not he makes the roster, I think that at least needs to be discussed because, man, yeah, he seems to be someone, if you have any injuries or something like that happen in camp, which does happen, this is football.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, you never know what he may be able to hold on to a roster spot and kind of develop into something. So at the end of the day, we'll see kind of what he belongs. Like if he shows he belongs, we'll see where it goes.
Listen, it's funny because you could say that about the 7th round pick, Parker Hughes, who was my 18th outside linebacker as a weak side backer, because I saw him at the College Gridiron Showcase. One of the standout players there, like first line of his report, an assertive player in all aspects of his game. You could tell he's played a lot of football in his career, just never shocked or surprised or caught out of position.
Right.
In and of itself, that's going coaches love that. Will you be where you're supposed to be? And
I was so mad watching his tape. I was so mad because it was like, I hate watching linebacker tape. I'm being honest about it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I hate watching linebacker tape because it's like just a lot of tackles and I'm just like, all right, cool. And he was always in the same, like in the right spots. So I watched both of the games where he had the interceptions because I was like, all right, cool. But it was, unfortunately, I gotta say, it was boring to me. But to that point, he was always in the right spot. He was always in the right place. He was just collecting tackles, just cashing them checks, picking up change off the ground. And I'm just like, all right, cool. And that's not a bad thing to have. No different than a safety always being in the right spot. Like Jalen Husky, it was kind of the same thing. It's just he was just always in the right spots, and there's a benefit there,
right? Because that don't get you beat. Like you go, this is what Indiana did to win the national championship. They beat you with execution. Clearly Miami was more talented. Clearly, other teams had way more talent, but they were more disciplined. They were assignment sound, and they beat you with execution. That's why you go out there, you see weekly, like, man, this team way better than Navy, way better than the Army, and then now you out there down 35-7 because you're dumbass, undisciplined, and taking a pitch guy when you're supposed to have quarterback, but you won't be a hero, and that a quarterback running 75 yards down. So it's the same philosophy. And to your point about the linebackers, right? I had the same thought when I was grading them, like, because I think I said this on the last show. There's a bell curve of when you watch a position. Obviously, you have your elite guys on this end, the little small end, and the guys that are gonna go pro on something else on this end, right? And so then you have this big bell in the middle, and that's as I'm watching linebackers, I'm like, man, I'm 40 linebackers in. I'm like, yo, all these dudes, starting to look the same. Like so a bunch of dudes got like 74 to 75 and a half grades. So there's not much separation. Right. It's just that they're doing a lot. So it's like, okay, what's the little nuance in terms of what they do different, and why are these guys all the same as opposed to the dudes that I watched, like obviously the Orville Reeses and those guys. You're like, damn, there really is a difference between these and these, and it shows because how many like, again, 40 dudes in, you're like, man, like there's not much separation between all these dudes. All these dudes are the same.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, we still got we talked about all the guys on the offensive side of the ball. I wanted to hop over quickly before we get too deep into this, because I know we're approaching the hour mark. The defensive line crop. Like, I thought Jalen Hunt has a legitimate shot to push Matt Dickerson for that last, if the roster is constructed how I think it's going to be. I wrote about it on Big Cat Country last week. Then I think that there's a real opportunity for him to kind of push, Matt Dickerson for that last defensive tackle spot. We'll see kind of how that goes. What were your thoughts on him?
Oh, like I said, I don't have nothing on Dunnigan, Hunt, Bollers.
Oh, Hunt was one of them. I'm sorry, I missed that one. All right, so cool. I know he's a 7th-year senior. He had multiple injuries throughout college. But that's the reason. It was like he was never healthy until this final season. So last year was his first time being healthy. He had 3.5 sacks, and also he had one of the 6, I believe it was the 6th highest pressure rate in the Big 12. It was 8.7%, which is right behind Lee Hunter, which was at 9.3%. So like, if he's not the same kind of guy, obviously, as Lee Hunter, because he's plays up and down the line. Essentially, he's a 3-4 defensive end / outside linebacker, or a 4-3 kind of 3 technique. Like, somebody might consider him a penetrating nose tackle in Cincinnati's defense. So that's why they viewed him as a DT in that way. But again, he played all parts of the line in that way. That's kind of what I saw from him. Like, he seemed reasonably solid now when he was actually healthy. But if you're a 7th-year senior, you're a man among kids, so you got that old man strength. And in some ways, that's just talking about both sides of the coin. I ain't gonna try to BS people about that. Like, there's a real thing if you're, I don't know, 26, fighting against 18-year-old kids. Like,
but what's interesting about that, they were really like, because Dante Corleone was someone I really liked too for Cincinnati. They were real short up front, and gave leeway to these big linebackers that they had to these athletic guys to go run and go chase. But they kind of held their own. When I was watching Corleone, it wasn't like the D-line was getting pushed around.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so he has a chance. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's keep it with D-line stuff. I know we've talked a lot about UDFAs, but Preston has a question that I'm kind of curious to hear your response to, Emory, here in the comments. I'd like to know if he thinks Regis can get to the level of Poona Ford. That's the comp for me for Alvin Regis.
Well, here's what I had on. He was my 28th defensive tackle, 73.5 grade. So lower on him than the consensus.
Oh.
But he's 6'1", 295. But here's what I had for him. I'll read you the full scout report, full disclosure. When he's able to win the hands first battle, he shows he's got the ability to control and disengage well with his hands. He's a squatty player who is able to get underneath the pads of the offensive lineman. He's able to slant inside, attack in half man, and leans in with leverage to get better position to make the play. Good hustle to pursue the ball carrier down the line, will also give chase downfield. I was shocked at how well I saw him just hustle. At times, he finds himself getting overwhelmed by double team blocks. He has to find a better way to refine his technique to defeat those in the future. And the lack of arm length shows up when he's not able to win off the snap and linemen are able to strike first and sustain the block.
Okay.
So there you go. That's the answer as it's been said. There you go, PT. Preston, I hope you got that in particular.
So maybe not Poona Ford, but we will see. Like, kind of where that goes. Basically, is what I'm getting. We didn't talk about TJ Bollers from California. Also, in the same boat as that Jalen Hunt conversation, talking about the Matt Dickerson, Hunt, Bollers, those 3 guys kind of just fighting for that one roster spot at the Jaguars, keep 5 defensive tackles. He was the transfer from Wisconsin. Goodness gracious. They had him at an outside linebacker, I believe, in his first year there. And then the last 2 years, they ended up moving him to defensive tackle. 24 pressures, 2 sacks over those 2 years, mostly a rotational role the year before last, and finally started last year. He also had a punt return. He was up back at the punt return, and he had a rush for 9 yards. I thought that was the funniest part of his tape that I saw. You don't get to see that very often. But yeah, knowing that he's a special teams guy, that's going to be the make or break kind of situation of whether or not he's going to be able to make this roster. You kind of mentioned that earlier, especially with a lot of these undrafted free agents, man.
I just love the fact, though, when we talk about undrafted free agents, we're talking about them with a plan. We're not talking about them as I get frustrated when a lot of guys just talk about UDFAs if they just are not people and not good football players. And teams genuinely have a plan. I can't wait to see this guy this Saturday that I was scouting earlier in the summer for the Giants. He's out here. He's gonna be on a tryout. His guy Gilliard from East Stroudsburg, 6'9", 400 pounds, tackle. Ooh. And looks at on film. So imagine a Division II player at 6'9", 400 pounds. So you like, bro, why is this big kid playing with the why is this adult playing with the little kids? You know what I'm saying? It looks crazy on film. But these are legit prospects and legit players. And I like how we discuss it, and especially the receiver core, because when you pair it with when they drafted certain guys, these UDF, and I guarantee this is how they sold it to these dudes. You have a chance to get a spot on this roster. We drafted 2 guys in the 6th round. We didn't take them in round 1. We didn't take them in round 2. We like you are right there with these guys, and in their minds, they come in locked in, ready to go. So I just love that we was able to have this conversation.
No, you are not wrong. Like I've been saying this, they believe in fighting. If you saw how they treated the previous UDFAs, like I saw, like we were outlining earlier, they are there to fight. Like this is a true fight. Like you're going to have an opportunity on this roster to truly earn it on the field. And if it doesn't work out, or if it does, you may end up going the route of Luke Fortner or Fred Johnson or whatever else, or you may go the route of a Branson Combs and be the key backup right now to the Jaguars, captain of their defense. Like you don't know where this is going to land, but you will have an opportunity to kind of earn it on the field. Contract be damned. Like it actually might be where you can earn a real spot here. So to that point, I think you're hitting it right on the head. The Josh Cameron was the only one who I think had a true lower draft projection, and he ended up getting drafted obviously in the 6th, a little bit later than folks thought he was going to go. But that doesn't mean from the perspective of these undrafted free agents that means, oh, this guy is just guaranteed to get the spot because he was drafted later, or like he's a 6th round draft pick. Right. Y'all gonna fight for it. We're gonna see where this goes.
And it's like I saw somebody in the chat talk about the walk-ons, and it's the same thing. Like when you got like a preferred walk-on coming in, and let's say you're a G5 program, like bro, like we liked him enough to bring him in camp. And there's a line, like scholarship guys, and there's right below that is a lot of the preferred walk-ons when you're recruiting. So it's like, we just don't have enough scholarships. But we expect you to come in here and compete because we got a grade on you that's a scholarship grade. And that's why you see a lot of these walk-ons end up playing as freshmen at a lot of places. That's how this is set up. Like, if you want it bad enough, you're going to go out there and show it.
I'm always going to root for those guys. I'm a former walk-on at UCF, and I end up earning my scholarship at a different school, mind you, after losing my scholarship after one semester I got hurt. Long story. Short version is college football sucks. I hate that. I hate these renewable 1-year scholarships. But yes, I'm always going to root for those guys at the bottom of the roster, at the bottom of the total poll. So I'm happy we were able to have this conversation talking about the UDFAs, aka your NFL walk-ons, because I want to see these guys succeed, and I want to see the Jaguars succeed, and hopefully both of these guys succeed in the same way, helping this team. But you got anything else, Kyle?
All I can say about watching things succeed is I had a lot of fun watching the show be a success with Emory Hunt's help. Thank you very much, sir, for jumping in. Please tell the people where you can be found, and one more time, remind them about the book, please.
Yeah, listen. Firstly, go and get the draft guide. Like, do that first, second, and third. Like, buy 3 of them. Like, do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Get one for everybody in your family. Still cheaper than gas if you do that. Like, straight up. So,
link in the description.
And so you go and get that footballgameplan.com/2026 draft guide. That's dope. But you can catch me on CBS Sports HQ. Now we're kind of slow, so you might see me pop on. I was on today on network, and so tomorrow I'll be on at 7:45 p.m. Eastern time talking NFL rookie minicamp. So I'll probably rehash a lot of these same points that I brought up here on the show tomorrow. So check that out. And this has been fun, man. Like I'm glad y'all brought me back and to talk UDFAs. I feel like nobody talks UDFAs, and this is half the league is undrafted. You know what I'm saying? And so when you look at the numbers, it's like this is a significant part, and this is because you're getting a hungrier player. NFL's case, you're getting a cheaper player. That's all they want anyway. You know what I'm saying? So
we've made that point,
right? So it's a money game, but this is the football, and I'll tweet this out because I tweet it out every year when I get to Giants camp. If you put that helmet on when you're out there, I don't care if you put it on for 3 days, you are an NFL player in my eyes. Like you really imagine how crazy of a mind what that is. To think about when you were a kid and like, I want to play in the NFL, and here you are right now with a helmet that has a damn Giants logo on. That's crazy. I don't care if it's for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You are an NFL player in my eyes. You made it to your dream. That's crazy. So that's why I always have respect for those guys. It's hard as hell because to your point, you got to get out college football unscathed. Hell, my college career was cut short because of injury. You know what I'm saying? So this is the stuff that people when they talk. That's why the whole consensus thing and the way people talk about these players bothered me because like we have an attachment to it. Like this is real. Like this is not, imagine how excited Boerkircher was hearing his name called. Imagine how excited some of these guys are going to be out here this weekend putting the helmet on for the last time for some of them. So, this is a show that's important, is cool, is dope, and I guarantee the undrafted dudes that we talked about their family will find this episode, their family will share it, they will watch this and be like, yo, this is dope, man. They all people want to do is show that they matter. And we gave those guys the floor.
Absolutely. A lot of them deserved it too with their talent, like you say. By the way, just so you're aware, Emory, the early nicknames coming up for Nate Boerkircher here on the Duval Dive. One is Nate Butt Kicker, and now the new one I'm seeing, thanks to Duval TV, is Boerkatron as well. So those are in the running. I personally prefer Butt Kicker, but let's see him throw some blocks like Brenton Strange first.
Well, listen, this because I'm King Petty. If I was Liam Cohen, the first day of, I would wait until preseason game 1, but bump that. The first day of practice, when cameras out there and fans out there, we're throwing the ball to Nate Boerkircher 20 times in the period. He getting all the passes. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to tick off everybody, he getting all the passes. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would do.
Mass photocopying receipts. I like it. It's a good thing.
That'd be interesting. That it will definitely be notable. Let's say it that way.
Just to piss off everybody, like, yo, they featuring Boerkircher. Like, yeah, he got all his passes today. Like, he could be a blocker for us, but today we want to show up and show out. That's what I would do. That's just me. That's why I need to be a head coach. You know what I'm saying?
If it
that's
was
the reason. That's the reason. Nothing. No other reason. That's it. That's the reason.
Petty in the press conferences. That's all I want to do.
Wow.
Somebody else coach team. I just want to talk to the people and talk to the reporters. That's it.
Oh my gosh. I'm so looking forward to Saturday. We're gonna have the Jaguars rookie mini camp. So I will be on the scene talking to those guys, getting to see who looks like they belong in this underwear Olympics. Y'all know how it is. Like it's obviously not real football because they're not wearing the pads and everything just yet, but also we'll get to see who like belongs. Like we go back 2 years ago, we were looking at who was it? Was it Javon Foster? I think and you immediately see him on the grass and you're like, that ain't gonna work. Like sometimes you can just see it and just be like, this ain't gonna work. And sometimes it's like, hey, we're gonna check that one box. This guy looks like he belongs. Now we'll see if he looks like he belongs when there's pads on, and they'll keep passing those tests as time goes on. So I'm definitely looking forward to Saturday. I do hope you enjoy your time at Giants camp. And yeah, I mean, if you guys are listening still, hey, please click that like button. Please follow us on the audio side, whether it's through the Believe Network website, or if you're listening to it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're getting this Duval Dive podcast. I'm Travis Holmes. I can be found at Travis D. Holmes on all the socials, here to talk mostly Jacksonville Jaguars football, and maybe if I'm actually like not too busy, I can maybe get into some CFL or some some arena football, or maybe some what is it, the Storm or the Surge or
right down the street, and you have
UFL, whatever, all the different football. Please pull me back out of this this Jacksonville Jaguars only football hole that I am in right now, and I'll get into some other football conversations. But y'all already know, man. Travis D. Holmes, all the socials, BigCatCountry.com. Please lock it in there and let them know where you can be found, Kyle.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out the Storm Surge podcast covering the Orlando Storm. We're going to have Chris Rowland on the show. Make sure you check that out Friday. He's been doing amazing things as a receiver, and I might just check if he's bought Elijah Bowger that steak from having the first touchdown of the year called back on that long pass and game plan. I got to follow up on that. It's the Big J journalism right there, Emory Hunt. So, and then of course, check out my work on UCF Night Zone, and Locked on UCF. Shouts to Mike Giddens, James Duncan, and of course, the stat boy himself, Drew Glukov. Make sure you follow that. My work with the Orlando Magic is currently subdued for the moment, but hey, when I follow them, make sure you check that out, as well as my work here covering your Jaguars. Gentlemen, a great time had. Emory, thank you again. I know we had fun, but these comments themselves could tell you how much fun we all had with you preaching the gospel of the UDFA. So thanks again for coming aboard, sir. But for the formidable Emory Hunt, for my personal champion, Travis T. Holmes, it's the Kyle Nash Student Game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.